Welcome to Real Estate Done Rightish, your favorite podcast for realtors by realtors. I'm Jen.
And I'm Annalie. For a combined 30 years, we've been working in this industry just trying to figure it out. And by figuring it out, we mean...
We've only cried in our cars. How many times this week?
Zero.
Zero for me too. Congratulations. It's been a week.
We made it.
We
no
made
tears.
It. We made it. All right, Annie, tee us up. We're going to let you know. Oh, before we do that, by the way, oh my gosh, my brain is moving really fast. I just said 4 sentences at once.
It's because you don't have this is our happy-ish hour.
And we don't have an outline, like a thorough outline. No.
Also, you don't have a drink, so you're going to be moving so fast.
I got to slow down.
Slow down.
Okay, I was going to say, if you haven't followed us yet, listeners, give us a follow. Leave us a review if you can too. I did look at Apple Podcasts yesterday. We have 42 followers in less than a month.
Is that good?
I mean, I have 280 on my other podcast in a year, so I feel like it's good.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Whatever. Thank you for following us is the moral of the story. Okay.
Yeah. I always assume no one's listening. This is just for us.
I mean, yeah, we would do it for us either way. So, yay. All right. Okay, now will you tee us up?
Yeah. We're going to talk about just a couple kind of random things today.
Mm-hmm.
Happy-ish hour. It's just a check-in. So I literally just walked out of a mastermind from our office. There's just a couple little things. We had talked a little bit about AI and real estate. We talked a little bit about commission trends, just that we're seeing in the general market. Nothing specific about commissions because we want to be careful to not be specific.
But how we're conveying that to our clients and what it's...
Yeah, we're not even going to go into that. I'm just going to give a little tidbit. Just
a
little snippet about commissions and what we think, we being... it was a mastermind of people that were in the top 20% of producers in our office.
Okay,
so
great.
that's what that is. We're going to talk a little bit about your mindset shift.
Yeah.
And some actual tactical tools you've been using to...
It's been actually so helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited here because you have not shared all those with me.
Yeah.
And then we're going to wrap up with a listener story.
A funny one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Let's talk about AI first.
Okay. Not a lot. I mean,
I might have some stuff to add to this maybe, but.
Well, I think one thing I will say is if you're not using AI in real estate, what are you doing? Come join us.
Yeah, for real.
There's just so many things. I always tell, like when I'm teaching new agents, I'm like, until you hire someone, you are the marketing department, the accounting department, the HR department, you're the listing agent, you're the buying agent, you're you're everything.
Yeah.
And there are so many of those sections that before you hire someone, or even if you have hired somebody, AI can step in and take such a load off. That's like pretty cool.
Oh my gosh,
I feel like we should probably do like some.
Yeah, I'm going to share a couple things when you're done sharing this. That's just like a couple tips that people can take away right away. But yeah.
Yeah. So that's number one. There were some anecdotes. I have a client right now who keeps putting, anytime she's worried about something, she puts it into AI.
Oh, good. I know, that was sarcasm.
That was sarcasm for anybody who's not looking on YouTube.
Watch on YouTube, you'll see my face. Oh, good.
And then you saw my face. It was like, that was sarcasm, right? Because it's not right. It's incorrect.
Right.
So she's putting in scenarios and saying, what should I do? Or why would I or not would I not do this? Things that you would normally ask your real estate agent. But today's example was buyer asked to bring a contractor through to plan for a project they want to do. And she had asked me, well, why would they want to do that? And I said, well, just so that they can start ordering materials, getting a plan in place. They're going to measure, they're going to start planning it out so that they can start like the day after closing on a project. Great. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, great. Is this weird? No, it's pretty normal, right? People do walkthroughs, people bring contractors through. Well, then she consulted AI in like the middle of the night last night.
Oh boy. And
sent me pages of text messages that she's copied and pasted from AI.
Yeah.
And it was like, why wouldn't you do this? They can destroy your property. Okay, I'm going to be there for this appointment. They can renegotiate terms. No, they can't.
Right.
We are completely outside of any contingencies. This is just a walkthrough. They can change their mind and back out of the purchase agreement. No, they can't.
Yeah.
I mean, they could anytime, but you would keep their earnest money. It would be defaulting. Like it just was, there were like 12 points and some of them were
Valid-ish.
valid adjacent.
Yeah.
There were parts of it that were valid, but so much of it was so like fear mongering to the client.
Yeah.
And I just responded when I first woke up this morning. I said, I have this going on. I'll reach out to you with it. Let's just talk on a call and let's talk about this at noon. I just said, I love that you use this as a tool. You got to stop. I said, it's so wrong.
Yeah.
And then I just quickly went through and just said, this is why this isn't true. This is why this isn't true. And I didn't even go through all of them because there was literally like 12 different things. And I said, I need you to remember that I am your AI.
Yeah, this is like going to the doctor and being like, I've been Googling this thing and I'm certain I have this disease.
Yeah, which people do.
And as a doctor,
I'm sure it's going to get way worse with AI.
Yes.
So anyway, there was a little bit of anecdotes about, are you having people do that? And this same client, I mean, I love that she's using it for so many different things, but we had multiple offers on her property and she said, well, why don't we just upload them all into AI and it'll tell me which one is best for me? Oh. And I said, does it know what's best for you? How would it know that? Because does it know your financial situation? Does it know your goals and your motivations about why you're selling this property? Does it know your hopes and dreams about what's most important to you? And there are things that aren't on the purchase agreement that need to be taken into consideration, right?
Yeah. There's like
who the other agent is, who's the lender, how, there's so many little things that make a difference between offers as well. So it was just really interesting to kind of that we're just starting to see that.
I'm just going to like throw this in here too, from the very human side of things. Like there's obviously, and I use AI every single day, multiple times a day. I'm a fan of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of logic and a lot of things that can be deducted and data that can be distilled and there's smarts there. Mm-hmm. But it takes out like, and maybe not everybody believes this way, but I believe that there is some universal orchestration, that there's a universal law about how things work in life. And that's something that nobody, not even a realtor, can factor in, is if you're like, man, I'm really trying to decide between buying this house and this house. They're great options. Which one do I put an offer on? And you want to plug it into AI, or you want to ask your realtor, instead of checking with yourself and going, all things seem equal, but which one feels right to me? And there's an element of intuition, I'm going to say, of just like, I think it's one piece of how we should make decisions, not the only piece, but it's just wild to me how much humanness it's stripping from decision making and guidance.
Yeah.
It's like, like when you said, how do you know what's best for you? Yeah, part of it is deciphering pros and cons, but there's also this additional layer that's like, we can't possibly know with our mind everything there is to know.
Well, and so in this case, I wasn't talking about choosing a house. I was talking about choosing an offer.
Right.
So there are terms that are better.
Yeah, for sure.
Than others, right? That is just, there are factual hard terms and they are going to be quote unquote better across the board. But again, is what's most important to you? Is it your closing date? Is it your timeline? Is it bottom line? Is it other things? What might those other things be? So I think that there are times where, sure, it might be able to say, but I can also do that in like 3 minutes. And in that same
1,000%.
In that same case, I said, I am your artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
I said, I have something called a net sheet. We're going to use that to focus on the money side of things. And then we're going to talk about the other soft terms, quote unquote, that make a difference. And we're going to talk about, is this soft term worth this difference in money?
Right.
If the top offer is $25,000 more than the next one, well, it didn't have an inspection.
Right.
The next one did.
Right.
That's a soft term. We don't know what that could do down the road, but is that worth $25,000 not having an inspection? Well, it's $25,000 more. So that's not even, I was thinking opposite. I was thinking it was less. No, it's more. Yeah. But like, right, what are those terms worth? And then that's the seller's decision, or what value do you put on those?
There's those, and then there's like the transaction I just closed today was like, It was a probate issue. There were 10 signers on the sell side, 10 signers.
Yeah.
And we were like, there's a chance that there could be a long lost heir that we don't know about in this property. There's all of these things that AI there just isn't. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So all this to say, the manager, team leader of our office, and some other leadership from our office was just at a big leadership
Mega
mastermind.
leadership down in Austin. Yeah. Yeah.
Or he said Dallas or something.
Oh, okay.
I don't know
yeah.
I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was mega leadership. Anyway, a big conference of some sort for leadership specifically. And he said there were some big heads of companies like Zillow. He didn't give any others. He just said some big wig from Zillow was there. And they said that on the back end of real estate, they are not seeing any AI that is trying or looking to take over real estate agents' jobs. And we were kind of talking about all that stuff. There's so much soft stuff. There's so many emotions. He gave an example of they had somebody that wanted to, they were literally supposed to close in like a week or two. They wanted to cancel a sell and a buy.
Wow.
Because and it wasn't that she just was panicking.
Oh.
And so it's like, well, who is AI going to have those conversations with that person and explain all the things that could go wrong if they try to go down that path and potential lawsuits? And you better consult an attorney immediately. And let's really talk about what's wrong here or what you're feeling. Like we have to be such therapists at times. We have to, there's so many skills.
Coaching.
So, anyway,
so we
what
don't
they
have to
were
worry about
saying,
that. Yeah.
what they were saying is that underwriting departments in the loan officer world, potentially loan officers' jobs, just looking completely different. You know, they're not going to really need to be the gatherers of information anymore, but they're going to need those same soft skills to be educators, to walk people through the process, maybe to match them with the right option, again, based on all the soft things like what is the best way to use your money? Is the most down payment the best for you, or do you do a lower down payment option? Do you do just 20 or do you max out, put all your money here, right? Those kind of more like financial planner type conversations that but that there are parts of our industry that will probably be gone or completely shifted very soon. But that the agent piece is not on the chopping block yet.
It requires that emotional behavior or emotional intelligence piece of it. But I will say this, I was just actually talking to my daughter. She's going to be a sophomore in college and trying to figure out what she wants to study. And I said, man, they probably don't have a degree yet in AI, but if they have any classes or if you can start taking classes in the summer, there are a lot of jobs AI won't replace, but it will replace people that don't know how to use AI. Meaning, if she wants to be a candidate for a position and she knows AI, she is worth a lot more than someone that doesn't. And I'm saying that as somebody that's using AI now. Like, I know the systems and models of building a relatively large real estate team, having built a moderately large real estate team myself, and then coaching other teams. We would always say once you're tracking to hit about 25 units per year, that's when you want to look at hiring at least some kind of assistant, a VA, transaction coordinator, and then potentially moving towards a full-time assistant. Now I'm like, that model's gone. In my opinion, if you know how to use AI, because like we were putting stuff together for the podcast, pre-AI, there's no way we could have launched this with me doing my business and
not in the timeline that we did.
Oh, yeah. That's what I meant.
We did it fast.
We did it super fast. I built a website in a day. Like, and
you're not supposed to tell people that.
Oh, shit. Whoops.
It took us 6 months to build the website, you guys.
I mean, it did require a little bit of a design eye, but the copy part of it, and here's what I'll say, and then maybe we teach a class on this at some point or something. You have to educate AI. In this case, I'm using Claude a lot for my copywriting for newsletters and things like that. And that being said, because I'm in there a lot, I feel like I can spot like a hawk people who are using it, and now it's really irritating me. So let me just tell you the things that I note really quick. Anybody that has a post that says, but here's the truth, or let me tell you something, or plot twist, that's an old one now. I'm calling them pivot phrases. There are these phrases in writing that's like but let me tell you what I learned, or what it's just like, oh, you took an idea and I do it too, but what I'm really trying to do is take I'll write something up myself and say, can you clean this up and make suggestions to me? Because it's really obvious really quick that it's cookie cutter because AI is learning from what's already out there.
Right.
So we're all going to sound like robots there if we
Oh,
don't.
boy.
You know what? For real. Like, but that being said, it is a tool. And so I was thinking about those executive assistant or assistant positions. And I'm like, they're not going away because in my world, if I'm closing 100 units a year, I still want a person working next to me.
For sure.
But I want a person that knows how to use AI.
Yeah.
Because I'm
it's
like,
just a whole new set of tools. It's like 20 years ago.
I will pay you more. I will pay you more for that because you can have two people in one.
Well, I was gonna say you could probably do the work of 3 or 4 people.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll get into AI more at some point, but yeah,
it's fun too.
it is fun, and it doesn't. I mean, you can dabble in it and start learning without it. It's intimidating, but it doesn't have to be intimidating. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. AI, what's next? You want to talk about commissions next? You want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, this is quick.
Okay, go.
Should we just do it?
Yeah.
Kind of the general consensus was, and we'll see, we can look back at this in like a year. Somebody made the declaration, I won't say who in this meeting, that said they would guess that in a year, co-broker commission will be gone.
Okay, hold up now because I'm just going to call us out as realtors. People are not doing this according to how in Minnesota, but NAR, the whole lawsuit was about how we're disclosing commissions and who's paying whose commissions.
Yeah.
I know a lot of us are like, at the end of the day, this is the bottom line, but the point of the lawsuit is that there shouldn't be just a muddy bottom line.
No.
It should be really clear.
Yes.
Is the seller paying the buyer's broker commission? Is the brokerage paying the commission? Who's paying what here?
Yes.
And so that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. So
can you break it down as simply as you can?
Yeah. So the seller has options. Mm-hmm. They can choose to pay their listing agent an amount. Mm-hmm. Let's say this would be a more pre-NAR settlement model.
Yeah.
Where they would choose to pay, and this is a negotiated commission, whatever that might be, often fell between, I would say 4.5% and 7% would be kind of the range where they would fall. Percent. And then of that amount, the listing agent was then disclosing to the seller, of that amount, I am offering to pay out any buyer representative that brings a buyer in and is working on this transaction with me. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to compensate them. Mm-hmm. So let's say I charge you 7%. I'm then going to offer out 3% or whatever my model is. I'm just going to use those. It's
your money as a listing agent. Once you get paid, you're paying the buyer's agent that brings the buyer.
Correct.
That's the old model the NAR settlement.
An old model was then that was marketed in the MLS. It showed how much that offering was from our brokerage to a co-broking brokerage. Okay. You can still do that now, but you can't market it in the MLS. You can't market it at all. An agent has to call and ask you if you're offering that. Or now what you can do is you can say, well, why don't you hire me for what we agree on?
Mr. Seller.
Mr. Seller, you're going to hire me as a listing agent for whatever amount we agree on. Mm-hmm. So now if it was 4.5 to 7, maybe now it's 2.5 to 4.
Yeah.
Right. 4.5. I don't know. How good are you? Charge whatever you want.
That's the point. It's negotiable.
It's negotiable. And then we are going to let the buyer's agent or the buyer ask as part of the purchase agreement for anything they need that they need as it's not a concession, it's a term of the purchase agreement to pay their buyer's agent.
So
directly.
The buyer could, the way that the buyer contract, well, it depends on the way the buyer contract is written up, but it really basic, the idea is the buyer needs to pay the buyer's agent.
Correct.
For the services that the buyer's agent is rendering to the buyer.
Correct.
A lot of times it's written in to say that if the seller or the seller's broker is willing to pay the buyer's agent, it reduces the obligation of the buyer.
Correct.
To pay the buyer's agent.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So if I'm offering out a co-broker commission and I'm offering out 2.7, and you have a buyer's agreement that says your buyer is paying you 2.7, then it's a wash for the buyer.
Right.
Right. If you had a buyer agreement that said you were getting paid 3% and I was offering out 2.5%, your buyer is legally on the hook to pay you 0.5% of the purchase price, or you renegotiate your contract, which is an option. You cannot take more than what your
you
contract
negotiated
said.
with your buyer's agent.
Your buyer.
Or your buyer, sorry. Yep, on the front end. Yeah. So the part that you were talking about is the brokerage piece of it.
Yeah. So there was a little bit of a consensus in the room that the co-broker piece will go away, meaning all commission will be negotiated. If it's being paid from the seller side, it will be negotiated as part of the purchase agreement, as a term of the purchase agreement. And the paying me a higher amount and me offering it out is probably just going to go to the wayside, because it gets confusing. Like if I'm talking to a seller, and what I tell my sellers right now, because I am not doing it the co-broker way right now, unless a seller really wanted to for some reason. But what I'm telling them right now is, why would we decide today what we're offering out for someone else's services when we don't know them? We don't know what the terms of their purchase agreement are. We have no idea what that looks like. Why don't we focus today on you hiring me for the amount that makes sense to hire me for?
Right.
Let's focus on what I do for you.
Yeah.
Why I'm worth what I'm worth.
Yep.
And by the way, I charge different amounts based on your needs.
Right.
Also, I don't have a fee that I charge. I have a range of options based on what you need from me. And are you a more typical middle of the road seller that doesn't need less work and doesn't need more work? How does this number sound to you? Or this is the range. Where do you fall in that? Do you want me to, like I was giving the example, I had an estate where the seller had never been to the house, had never been to this state, was never coming to this state if possible. So I coordinated a clean out, painter to come in, handyman to come in, right? I was at the property meeting people.
You were like doing
there like
all
6
the
or 7
things,
times. And I said, that's going to cost you more. This is not a typical transaction. I'm going to have to deal with a lot more. And so, we negotiated that I was getting paid more in that situation.
Yep.
But why wouldn't you focus on that with your client and then let the buyer pool ask for what they need based on the market, right? It's a market dependent term now. It's not a predetermined term, which I think it makes more sense. And then that buyer agent negotiated their fee from the buyer. How much does the market say they can recoup from the seller, if any? And, we were talking about today, somebody said, do you think there's a world that the seller paying something towards that goes away completely? And we were like, man, I mean, in Minnesota, we are still in an incredibly strong seller's market. I've had almost every listing get multiple offers so far this year, and all of them but one had compensation covered.
Well, it's still, I mean, part of it is what's affordable right now, and buyers, just a lot of buyers. And then if they're moving up, like if you just start from the bottom and say, okay, for a first time home buyer, and that's kind of the trickle down effect into the market, many of them can't pay closing costs plus all of the fees that inspection and all of the extra things on top of that, plus the commission. It's all out of pocket. That's a lot of money out of pocket for a buyer to bring to the table.
Yeah. And might there be some sections of the market that support that, or that where the buyer pool says, oh no, we're just going to pay that on the side.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point that's going to be super micro market dependent. And it might be in a certain seller's market, a certain section of the market starts to trend that way. It did get brought up. Would it be beneficial if your buyer is cash heavy? Would it be beneficial to differentiate yourself by having them pay that directly and not putting in the purchase agreement? And a lot of people in that room just said, only if the listing agent knows how to present it correctly.
Yeah.
And only if the listing agent knows how to fill out a net sheet. And then I said, I'm sorry. No, I'm a listing agent. I said, is that really a concern?
Yes.
And there was a resounding
escalation clause thing.
Yeah.
It's like agents act sorry, not sorry. We're in the industry, but I'm like, there are a lot of agents that don't know.
Yeah. So
And
anyway,
if you're one of them, no shame, but like learn. You have to take the responsibility to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should be able to 100% like be able to apples put different terms in different purchase agreements down and be able to talk about bottom lines, top line versus bottom line.
Yeah.
And we have to appraise for top line. So honestly, in certain situations, it could be really beneficial because you're not worried
Right.
about appraising.
Right.
You're taking another term that's coming off the top
Right.
line off the table.
Right.
So it could be beneficial. But anyway, that's maybe a whole different
Well, I
conversation.
mean, we went into it. That's good.
Yeah.
That's what we're here
I said
for.
it was going to be really fast.
No, but it's never
I
fast
lie.
with us also. It's like,
I taught a class this morning that was scheduled to be 2 hours long. And I said, there is no way this is going to take me 2 hours.
yeah. Totally.
I
Went
took
right
the whole
up to
2
the
hours.
end. Yeah. Certain of it.
Yeah.
And it's because like people also engage, and then
Yeah.
chat.
We went, I said, we have time. So if you have
Let's
questions
talk.
or if we want to go sidebars, let's do it.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Your turn.
We're shifting into mindset. So after this last, this resilience episode, it was so sweet. My mom messaged me and she was like, "Hey, great episode. I loved hearing it." Maybe you're listening now, Mom. I'm calling you out. And then she was like, "Hey, can I just give you a little advice?" And I was ruh-roh. And she was like, "If potential clients are listening to this and they hear you say you think you're going to be out of the industry in 5 months, that might not be good. That might not be a good look." Is essentially what she was saying.
Yeah.
And for the record, I didn't say I'm going to be out of the industry. I specifically said I'll still be in the industry, but I might need a side hustle.
Yeah.
But that's what she heard.
Well, and
So-
and it's your mom, so
Yeah.
she might be hearing
Yeah,
things
yeah.
differently as well.
Yeah.
But also,
That's what she heard. That's what she took
Real.
from it.
Yeah.
And so I just want to like pinpoint a couple of things. And this is not necessarily for myself, although I will be in the industry, but I'm this way probably to a fault. And I'm willing to just continue living this way. I'm pretty open book. Like I'm just like, and part of us doing this podcast and the whole kind of thing about crying in our cars and we're just trying to figure it out is literally that we're sharing real time what it means to figure this out right now.
Yeah.
And a part of that, and I've been at what I would consider the monetary pinnacle of success in this industry a few years ago. And I was still having days of fear and still having days of how am I going to do this and how am I going to sustain this level of success? And so the reason that I share those things when we get on here is because I want to help genuinely and because I also don't know how to be more shielded if I even need to. Sometimes it's hard for me to hide that. I can't get on here and record and be fake, I'm just like, this is what you're getting, everybody.
Yeah.
So that being said,
I'll also interject if there are any consumers that are listening, this, like I said, like we all have to be a little bit crazy in the head to do this.
Yeah.
It's a wild ride.
Yeah, it is.
It really doesn't matter how long you've been doing it or how it is always changing. Clients are always throwing new things at us. There's always new legal things, market independent things. Like it is changing so fast all the time that it is a little bit like, wait, I mean, think about just in the last 5 years, how many times have agents been up in arms and been like, we're
going to lose our jobs.
Are we not going to have jobs anymore?
Yeah. Oh my
gosh. The NAR
gosh.
settlement was a huge one.
Zillow, technology.
Zillow doing things.
Yep.
AI. Like
Yep.
there have been so many times that it's literally been like, oh no.
Well, and
we
I
might
was
be gone in 6
leading
months.
the organization through that time. So my job at the time was to like try to help people be resilient in a moment when you're like, oh crap, I might have a job.
Yeah. But and how many times have we thought like the market could crash again?
Oh my gosh.
Or like, or, oh no, I mean, COVID, we didn't know if we were going to literally have a moratorium on home sales and we were going to just have to sit at home for who knows how long.
Yeah.
So I just want to say again to consumers that might come across this, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And you're only as good as your current client list. And you never know. We just never know.
We never know.
We are getting thrown so much all the time.
Yeah.
So it's hard. So give us a hug.
Give a realtor a hug today. Yeah.
Hug more realtors because they're
it's challenging.
They probably need it.
They probably do.
Yeah.
Okay. That being said, I mean, in those real moments, and then after we recorded that last episode, I think it was at like a decent mental place. there are these pivot points in my life now that I can look back at, and I've maybe said some of this before, where different people cross my paths to serve different purposes. And one of the themes has been that there's always at these pivot points been somebody, and they're not honestly super long-term instrumental. They're just like a jolt. So anyways, this coach mentor, I'm going to start doing FSBO expireds, calling like that. And I'm feeling very confident in it. And I was on a call with him, and he just said, hold up, stop. Because I was just in a very practical mode, not in like what I thought a fear-based mode, but I was like, okay, if by this date this doesn't happen, then this is my plan. If by this date this doesn't happen, then this is my plan. Thinking like, I'm being really wise, I have contingency plans, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to be pushing really hard on these things to get this plane off the ground as quick as possible. And he just stopped me, and he was like, you have to stop putting your energy to the what if for the worst case scenario, because you are creating that energy in your life. And he was like, what if it works? So for the next however many days, three months, every time you catch yourself thinking, what if this doesn't happen, or what about that? It's what if it works? What if it goes well? And I was like, of course. Like, I've been in this world with that kind of mindset teaching for 10 plus years now.
Yeah.
But the thoughts were so insidious.
Yeah.
Like, they just crept in, and I didn't even realize like how much I was simmering in fear.
Yeah.
Like the what if, you know?
I think that anyone who's listening right now should literally write on a Post-it,
Yeah.
but what if it works?
Yeah.
And what if it works?
Yeah.
Because I think again, any self-employed person could probably, that is in like, again, we're a little bit weird also because of the way our transactions are laid out. And like, there's timelines and there's runways to actually getting things to close and all that kind of stuff. But how many people out there right now? I mean, probably everyone. I bet there's only 1 out of 1,000 realtors that doesn't consistently go to the,
oh my gosh,
what if everything goes awry?
I know that.
What if every single transaction falls apart? I just had that thought the other day. I was like, what if everything that's pending right now blows up? And there's certain ones that there's literally no way it could.
Yeah.
Like, I have some things that are new construction that like it couldn't.
Yeah.
That it's not possible.
It's not, yeah.
And I still was having those
It's our
thoughts.
mind.
So anyway.
Well, and our minds have evolved to look for threats. That's the other thing. Like, our minds have evolved. Our limbic brains are constantly scanning for threat.
Yeah.
And I was reminded of that. This is the conversation I was having the other day with a friend. Like, oh yeah, my mind is trying to protect me.
Yeah.
It's trying to serve me. So it's constantly scanning for threat. But what it's not doing is aligning with possibility. And so anyways, this coach said...
Okay, so again, we're going to just all put on a Post-it. And what if it works?
And what if it works?
Yeah.
What will that
and try to
feel
shift
like?
that energy.
What if it works? Yeah. So I'm going to just share like a 5 thing. Well, sort of, yeah. I'm going to share the 5 steps. This book is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I have been around people who have recommended this book to me for 10 years and haven't read it. It was written after the Great Depression. And I think I mentioned it in the last episode too. So now I'm like halfway through. But I don't know what to say about this, except I was telling you, Annie, before we hit record, that I'm kind of feeling really validated and also a little irritated.
Yeah.
So this is written again in the 1930s. And
I didn't realize that's when it was written. Because again, it's been a book that has been talked about for ever. And I've also not read it, by the way. I'm going to now that you've been talking about it so much.
So like, it's a business. So it was written by a man who studied 500 businessmen at the time that were wildly successful, and like what led to their success. The formula that led to their success is the same stuff I've been like quote unquote studying for the last 7 years. And right now, the people that I follow that talk about this are like, it's all about co-creation and manifestation and raise your vibration and law of attraction.
The words are a little more woo-woo.
They're more woo. He has
some
of it in here,
Yeah.
but it is the same steps.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, these are universal laws. This is the way it works. Now, it's like a bit of a side note. I think that part of why I had gotten away from this is because it started to feel to me fluffy. Like I didn't feel grounded
yeah.
in it. This version of the same principles feels more grounded.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. Okay. So anyways, I'm going to share them with you guys, and whether it's money or whatever you want to create or draw in your life, this is cool. Okay. There's so much in here. I want to read a couple of quotes to you. Okay, so one of the things that we need in order to bring things into our life is confidence. Another word for that is faith, belief. I mean, you can exchange these words. They all kind of mean the same thing. He said so we've got to tell our subconscious mind what we want it to believe, which is neuroscience. You know, we've done other stuff with neuroscience stuff. So the first thing is conduct yourself just as you would if you were already in possession of the material thing which you are demanding when you call upon your subconscious mind. So that's just a quick quote. But then he goes on to say that, like, we tell people, well, just have faith, just believe it and you'll receive it. And then it's like, well, how do I cultivate faith? Like, what does that even mean? Like, if I'm feeling like I'm spinning my wheels or I'm in a moment of, but what if this doesn't work? How do I cultivate faith to start thinking, but what if this does work? So here's the self-confidence faith-building formula from this book.
Okay.
You got it ready?
Let me get a pen.
Okay, it is going to take me a few minutes to get through this.
Oh, boy.
Feel free to interject questions or thoughts. Okay, first. So these are just statements you would say to yourself, and then I'm going to kind of break down what he means by them. I know that I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose, and those are capitalized, definite purpose. So definite meaning defined. To say, like, this is what I'm going after. It's defined. So for me right now, I have a year from now, I am going to have this much money in my bank account. So the object of my definite purpose in life, therefore I demand myself persistent, continuous action towards its attainment, and I here and now promise to render such action. Again, written in 1937. If you read the whole thing, you'll have more context for what this is. But, like,
if you come in next week wearing like a bowler hat and a bow tie, I'm going to be concerned.
And there's so much more I could talk about with this. You can read 7 Spiritual Laws of Success with Deepak Chopra, but there's science behind. It's called an observer effect. So you can look at the smallest particle of an atom under a microscope, and there's studies to show that they're called quarks and something else, the smallest part of an atom, that they won't appear under the microscope until there's an observer observing it. I know.
How did they know? This is like
I know. I don't
Slush
know.
box
Don't
or whatever.
test me. I don't know.
What is it? Schroeder's?
I don't know.
The cat in the box?
I don't know.
You don't know if the cat's there unless you open the box?
Maybe.
Schrödinger?
I don't remember how they know this, but it's quantum physics. It's blah, blah. But the idea is that, like,
I don't know if I believe
we have the power to have an effect on matter by the mere fact of observing it. So if you guys have heard the phrase that, like, what you put your attention on expands. What you focus on expands is that same idea. Okay, this is the second thing. I realize the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Okay, I'm going to pause there.
Can you say that again? Because I just, like, my brain was still thinking about the cat in the box.
I realize the dominating thoughts of my mind. What are the dominant thoughts in my mind?
Yep.
They'll eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action. They'll eventually show up in the action that I take and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Okay, so the analogy I used with you earlier on that was the Timberwolves. So we're in Minnesota. We're watching them now. I'm listening to the commentators before the game, and they're like, I don't like their posture. Their heads aren't in the right place. Like, they're going to manifest their reality because they're showing up without belief. And it's like it's more broadly accepted in professional sports that athletes will have mental affirmations and visualizations of a positive outcome. And there's studies to show that when you visualize the positive outcome or visualize making the shot, that you are X% more likely to actually make the shot because it impacts how you act.
Yeah.
And so just that is like, okay, well, what are my dominating thoughts? Like, what are my dominating? They're
Well, back to what you said about like all the thoughts about what if it goes wrong,
Yeah.
and focusing on that versus what if it goes right.
What if it goes right? Yeah. Okay. Then it says, I'll concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. So I've done this in the past, but I've gotten away from it. I created a really vivid vision of my 1 year from now, like a day in the life, starting in the morning, ending in the evening. It includes my goals, but it's written with all 5 senses in mind. And when I feel it, when I read it, I feel it. Like I feel like, oh, I'm that person. Then that's what you want. Okay.
Well, and this is like manifestation stuff. So
Yeah.
this is vision board, but it's a daily practice of putting yourself there.
Yeah. And
For
again,
30 minutes.
30 minutes a day. Yep.
Yeah.
So I do like 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at night. And within a day, I was like shifted
Yeah.
because it shifts you. Yeah, it does. Okay.
Well, you start to behave like the person that you want to become.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It does have to stay top of mind.
It does. Yeah.
But I mean, look at the stats surrounding just like vision boards.
Yeah.
Just having a vision board up and seeing it, it makes you like, I don't know what the stat is, but it's like 800% more likely to achieve the
Yeah.
goal or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like stupid.
Yeah.
Or when we talked about goal setting,
Yeah.
You're like,
It's only like 2% of people that actually write down their goals, but out of the 2%, you're 80% more likely to achieve them or something like that.
yeah, it's like crazy
Yeah.
numbers of
Yeah.
just, so if you think about like meditating on who you want, what that looks like,
Yeah.
meditating on your vision board
Yeah.
for 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
That's like a very powerful
Yeah.
practice.
Well, and the idea, and I won't get into all of it, even though I'm so tempted to, but it's really, Joe Dispenza talks about this too, like, which some people will write off as a quack, and that's fine. But like,
I don't know who that is.
he was a chiropractor by the study, but he's big into quantum physics, and he doesn't call it manifestation though. He calls it like co-creation. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he does show the science behind so our brains emit energetic waves, just like electricity and light emit waves, and sound emits waves, and X-ray has waves. So our brains do that, and our hearts do that. And when they're in coherence, then we attract like waves. Just like if you have, I don't know if you've ever done this. If you have 2 guitars in the same room and you pluck a string on one guitar, the like string on the other guitar will vibrate. And it's because of the way energetic waves work. So that's the science behind this idea that when you have coherent waves, then you also attract that same kind of energy into your life and same kind of opportunity into your life. So there is real, and he actually talks about some of that in this book. Again, it's like
Same stuff.
He's not a woo
Yeah.
guy. He's a guy researching 500 businessmen.
Yeah.
But the idea is that they had an elevated sense of vibration. And so, okay. That's about feeling it. That's why it's important when you read it that you feel it, because that elevates your energy.
Okay.
Okay. Number 3, I know through the principle of autosuggestion, which is just like constantly suggesting to your subconscious mind what you want to happen. It's repetition, basically. Any desire that I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of attaining the object back. So I devote 10 minutes daily to demanding of myself the development of self-confidence, just like telling yourself who you are. 4th, I have clearly written down, so that, again, he goes into the power of writing down a description of my definite, quote-unquote, chief aim in life. I'll never stop trying until I shall have developed sufficient self-confidence for its attainment. So just like it's a level of being determined. And that really hit me too. It's like there is no option but success. My coach said the same thing. He's like, I mean, if I could do this as a brand new agent 10 years ago with no network, door knocking, why couldn't I do this now? So the fact that I'm entertaining failure is actually kind of wild.
Yeah.
But just from a matter of principle to say there's no option but success.
Yeah.
Quit entertaining failure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, 5th, I fully realize that no wealth or possession can long endure unless built upon truth and justice. Therefore, I will engage in no transaction which does not benefit all whom it affects. I will succeed by attracting to myself the forces I wish to use and the cooperation of other people. I will induce others to serve me. This is different language. Because of my willingness to serve others. I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism by developing love for all humanity, because I know that a negative attitude towards others can never bring me success. I will cause others to believe in me because I will believe in them and in myself. Isn't that good? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's it. But like 4 days of that and I feel kind of new.
Yeah.
I mean, just like the visioning and doing these things and just being like, okay, success is the only option. Let's go.
Yeah.
I feel good.
Fun.
Yeah. So you're going to read the book too? We could have
Yeah.
like a book study after it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I'm going to get it right away.
Okay. You want to read this story?
Sure.
You think people want to hear it?
Maybe. It's kind of gross. I've read it.
Okay, so this is the idea, guys. These happy hours. I know we know that you don't listen to every single one of these episodes.
You should, though.
You should, though. For sure you must. You must.
If you aren't, what are you doing?
But we've said it before, and we'll just keep saying it, that we would love to hear from you, because
Yes.
I think these stories are so freaking funny.
Yeah.
And this is like real stuff in real estate. So if you have like a Wild West story, craziest thing you've seen, wildest thing you've been asked to do.
Or just anything anecdotal you want to share.
Yeah, sure.
Or like any question or any topic that you want us to blab about for too long.
Yeah.
Because we will.
We will.
Do it.
We'll do it. See, we just
promise.
did it.
We'll
I just did it. So,
We'll talk
Think
about,
and Grow Rich.
we'll talk about
Napoleon
almost
Hill.
anything for at least an hour.
I know we can. It is kind of ridiculous. You know what I don't think that people know yet?
What?
About how she's looking at me so scared right now. She has no idea what I'm
so
going to
worried
say.
about what you're going to say all the time.
I mean, we kind of reference this, but this started in part because of the numerous nights on my deck or at your mom's house where we'll have a glass or two of wine and we will talk for literal,
Yeah.
I don't know, 6 hours, 7 hours. Like there have been times, and I'm not a night owl at all.
Yeah.
But we're like, oh crap, like it's 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Like what are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't shut up.
I know.
We just love talking about stuff.
Yeah. Like,
So I guess, I mean, like I said,
record it.
who could record it, throw it out there. Let's see if people want to hear it. Sorry if you don't. Too bad. We're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
No, but I think like anything, the more we could interact with people that are listening.
Maybe someday we'll do a
turn this
live
one-
event.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fun?
But I think like if we could turn this episode the more we could do this kind of fun stuff. I mean, I think the anecdotal, like
Answer
what happened this week is
questions,
good, but
yeah.
just like
Yeah.
questions, topics, thoughts. What are you dealing with?
Bring it.
What's a thing that like, what was your biggest struggle this week?
Yeah.
And then, cause I mean, we all are having them.
Yeah.
I have a client who keeps sending me solutions based on AI that are all wrong.
So good.
Okay.
Okay, this is it. We're capping off the episode with a disgusting story.
So this is an anonymous story about something found during a showing.
Okay.
So we're kind of back to a few weeks ago. But this is not that kind of
If
a
you
find.
didn't listen to the Toy Story episode, you might want to do that.
It's a lot of stories.
A lot of stories. And I laughed because I still laugh when I listen to that. I go back to listen to it when I need to laugh. It's a good one.
There's some stuff in there.
Okay. Anyways.
I've seen some things.
I know you have.
Okay. Last summer, so this is recent, I was working with a client who was looking to renovate a property. So we're looking at mostly distressed homes. A lot of these are the kinds of houses where you feel like you need to take a shower when you're done walking through.
Oh my gosh.
You know.
Ew.
Yeah. And yeah.
I feel like you also need to wear a mask. So I have a friend that's like a science person, like a scientist.
A science person. No, they're like
What do they call
a legit
science
scientist.
people? And he was reminding me that when you can smell things, you're ingesting particles of the things you can smell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you mold in a home or like cat pee. Oh my gosh, you're breathing. Imagine if that stuff wasn't invisible. if you could see it in the air.
Okay, now we're getting too gross.
Okay, anyways.
But yeah, when you like get home and you just take your clothes off and like instantly put them in the washing machine.
I don't
and
do
then
that. Do you?
If you walk through a house that's like really, Jen just sleeps in her clothes. She's like, these smell delicious. It's so gross. Or like you can smell it in your hair.
Ew.
Okay. Well, he says, after this tour, I feel like I had to burn my clothes.
Oh gosh.
This is about the third home we saw. And as we were walking around, we noticed the window on the back door was smashed in.
Oh boy.
We didn't think much of it as it's kind of a bumpy neighborhood. Kids be kids and rocks are fun to throw, whatever. Love that. Yeah, rocks are great. In hindsight, should have taken more consideration to the eviction notice on the door.
Oh gosh.
Now we're touring this home and it is probably one of the most disgusting places I've ever been. But the disgustingness level, I didn't know that was a word, disgustingness.
That's a tough one.
Level reached new heights when we made it to the living room. I usually think old shag rug is pretty gross.
Oh my gosh. How long is the shag, do you think?
I don't know.
How thick is the shag?
I don't know.
Oh, what do you think? How do you imagine it?
Well, when anyone ever says shag rug, I instantly go to my grandparents' basement.
Yeah.
It had, I think they built the house in the 70s, and it had the like a good 3 inches.
That's what I'm
like
imagining.
3 inch
3
long.
and like yarn size thick.
Yep. It literal felt like acrylic yarn. Like did not feel good on your body or your feet. Anything. Like kind of scratchy, rough.
It's not
long.
the rug you want to take your clothes off and lay down.
No. And
it's just like a prickle sponge.
Theirs was red and black. Like red.
Oh wow.
And black.
Wow.
And I can't remember now. I feel like it was kind of just like a pattern of some sort, but
This is
because
like a sports team rug.
yeah.
Yeah.
They had like little red swivel chairs
Oh, cute.
down there. It was all red and
Can you imagine
black.
how dirty that carpet is?
It was still there when we sold the house in like
Ew.
2016.
I don't understand
No.
how people weren't thinking about cleanliness.
Yeah, it's real gross.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, really long shade carpet is what I'm imagining.
So-
I'm imagining like avocado green.
Yeah, that's standard.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So old shag rug is pretty gross, but it
Yeah.
has been made infinitely more gross when it's topped with a large
Oh no.
human size turd.
No way. What? Were there not toilets in the house?
Not like the size of a human being, but like the size a human being makes.
Oh my gosh.
You
That's
get it.
disgusting.
And then he goes on to say, it was, I'm going to say poo because I like saying that better.
Yeah, I do too.
It was poo, like people poo. And he says, now I'm not ready to rule out an animal poo, but we do know there was a rental license. We do know there was an eviction notice, and we do know the back door was broken into. And I don't
This
know
is like
any
MacGyver.
Yeah. Well, there's clues,
Yes,
context
there's
clues. Somebody
clues.
might have been upset, come back to leave a present for their landlord or
poop
something.
present.
Poo platter, if you will. He says, I don't know of any giant raccoons who are vindictive enough to break into their landlord's home and blow a giant beaver in the middle of the living room carpet. Okay, the writing skills. Chef's kiss.
Good. Yeah.
Needless to say, my client did not purchase the home, but I've
my
never been more
gosh.
excited to leave an agent feedback in my entire career.
Oh my gosh. I'd love to read that feedback. That's
What do
good.
you even say?
I don't know. You gotta.
There was
you
a
gotta
Poo
beefer.
poo. No.
Yuck.
Let's okay.
I hate those
to
words.
the agent.
I don't want to say that again.
That wrote that in. Please never say that again.
I never want to hear it.
I would say there was a
Ew.
excrement.
Excrement?
Yeah. It's like a more clinical way of saying.
Let's stop talking about it. It's gross.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so no to shag carpeting, no to poo platters on the floor.
No,
We don't like
we
them.
don't want floor platters. Yuck.
All right.
All right. That's all for this week's episode of Real Estate. On that note, bye. We're gonna wrap. We're gonna leave you with that pleasant thought. Minute. Do you want to sing them a song instead before we let them go? No,
I don't. No.
Okay, all right.
And I'm sorry I keep coughing. I'm still COVID-y.
You know what? You don't
Just
need to
won't.
apologize for that kind of thing. We let that go around here.
Well, my voice still feels scratchy and
Oh.
I still feel a little coffee.
I'll bring some lozenges next time.
Maybe
Or some
I will.
honey tea.
Maybe I will.
Yeah.
I think next time I'm going to be
You're
better.
gonna be golden.
It's got to happen one of these days.
Well, until next time. I set that up wrong. Now I can't remember how it goes. That's all for this week's episode of Real Estate Done Rightish. Until next time.
Cheers to doing it rightish. We'll try. I'll just do it as fast as it feels. Okay. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general knowledge and informational purposes only and do not constitute professional, legal, or financial advice. As licensed real estate agents in the state of Minnesota, we are not attorneys, financial advisors, or tax professionals, and we cannot provide advice in those areas or in regards to any agency or broker-specific topics in any other state. Any reliance you place on the information provided in this podcast is strictly at your own risk. We strongly encourage you to consult with qualified professionals for specific guidance related to your individual circumstances.
Wow! That was good. All right. Quit coughing.
So mean. I'll just cut my lungs out. Is that better? I'll sit back here.
Can you fought that if you fought that way with a boyfriend?
What do you just want me to cut my lungs out?
Okay, we're extra close today.
Oh, I feel like then I can't look.
No,
at you,
I know
though.
you do. We do need to
gotta
be
be-
far enough apart where we can.
My hair is weird over here. Look at this weird thing.
Do you want to make a noise and flip it? How do we look like this? Am I blurry right now?
Well, I can only see your hair, so yeah, you're blurry.
Damn it. I do want to be able to look at you. I don't like having to talk like this.
Here, now you won't be blurry.
I can back the camera up. Am I blurry now?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe a little.
I think it's okay. This is okay.
Can't tell.
This is okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi.
Hello.
Okay.